Thank you for listening and welcome to the Life Radio Show, a once proud member of the now defunct Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm your host, Don Smith. Our good friend Neil Griffin is back from his cruise and steps in as guest co-host. Brandon Barry hangs out and we take a phone call from this weekend's Wiley's headliner, Kent Rader. If you enjoy the show, like and follow the Life 1069 on Facebook and Don Smith Comedy on Twitter, or tune in live on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can stream the show live at wwsu1069.org.
The brutal presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
Excited, Neil Griffin?
Say it again, because I forgot to start the recording.
Patrick!
Oh man. Oh man.
Every week.
Who's your guest?
If I don't stay right on you, every week we have to go through this.
Oh, he's a good boy.
Patrick is he's here. Barely. Hey, welcome to the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith. It is time for another week of this, and why not? My guest co-host is in, Neil Griffin.
Hey, everybody. How you doing out there?
I feel like I've heard this before.
Yeah, I know. It's like deja vu.
It was a couple of months
I'm
ago.
going to do it again. Hey, welcome to the Life Radio Show.
Hey, third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Glad to be here, Don.
Yeah, it's like last week. I think I introduced Kevin Rupert about 8 times.
Right.
Hey, my guest co-host is Neil Griffin.
Hey, everybody. I'm here again.
Back from an extensive vacation down in the Bahamas and on a cruise.
I was actually no Bahamas. I was in Jamaica. I was in Haiti, Jamaica, and Cozumel, Mexico.
And you came back.
Yeah, I know, right?
What were you thinking?
Customs.
Oh, okay. What'd you manage to sneak in? Anything good?
A Maraca.
I don't even want to know where you kept it. The prison rules? Is that?
Don't drop your maraca.
It's oblong for a reason, folks.
There you go. Yep, you're hiding your maracas. That's the episode title right there.
Hiding the Maraca.
Hiding the maraca.
That's terrible. That's sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
Right off the bat, I want to shout out to my brother Tony's out there. 5 years sober today. So Tony, I love you, and thank you for being sober, buddy.
Yeah, that's a heck of a milestone right there. 5 years is quite a thing. I didn't make it.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. I was in Mexico, man, fighting it, man. You know, he's sitting right next to me. I'm like,
So you weren't allowed to drink just because his 5 years sober does not need to affect your intoxication. That's
right. Well, you know, you try to be.
You can be supportive and still be drunk and have a good time.
Here's your chip.
Besides the drunker you get, the more he's going to be glad he's not.
Right.
Like, is that really what I was like? I am never drinking again.
Right. Yeah. No. I just feel like it was important to support him.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm just.
I can dig it.
Okay. My 8 o'clock guest is in at 7 o'clock. Brandon Barry is already in.
Yeah, my power was out, so I decided to come in and get 20 free CDs. So
there you
it
go.
worked out pretty well.
Yeah, don't have to worry about the power outage. You just get a lot of new music you can't play when you go home unless the power is back.
Well, that's right. I don't have a CD player in my car, or I got one in my car. I don't want to have one at home.
Oh, okay.
I listen to cassettes for some reason still.
Oh, well, yeah.
I buy them.
Yeah.
What's my problem? I don't know. This is so weird. We're on another plane over here. Like,
pretty cool, right?
How's it going, Brandon?
I'm good. I'm good, Dan. Yeah. No, I'm glad you had me on. It's been a minute since I've been here.
It has. I think last time you were here, we weren't Facebook Live-ing either.
No, we weren't. I think it was right before. Yeah. I think the first Facebook Live thing I did, I don't even think it was live. I did it with Daniel Hood.
Oh,
he does his little video thing, and
he's tuned in right now on Facebook Live.
Oh, no way!
Watching
hey,
us.
Daniel.
Oh man, gotta love Dan Hood.
I'm getting a call.
We'll talk about him when he's not listening.
Right.
Real talk.
Turn your radio down, sir. Yeah, we got things to talk about.
Yeah. No, I always loved the Ohio's on Fire show. That was always a fun one to go.
Yeah.
On.
Well, and does he still do it?
He doesn't
still
hear.
Do it?
He doesn't hear. I think he does a podcast.
Does a podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
So he can cuss on his. We still can't.
Yes.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does. He doesn't look like
cussing a whole lot.
He doesn't look like the guy.
Yeah.
He
he's not the sailor type.
No. I know you are though.
I am.
That's all that matters right now.
Yes.
Right.
So So tell us about your cruise experience. You had sent me a message or something about getting material ready for
right, Royal Caribbean. Yeah, on the cruise line. Yeah, and I did. They don't let you do guest spots there.
I didn't think.
No, because you never know who they're bringing up.
Right.
But I was walking with the Godfather of comedy, Mr. Cal Westray, and we were talking about. He said, "Hey, you can use my name if you want." Blah 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 blah. I said, "Thank you," and luckily I had some contacts in the business and stuff like that. So they did talk to me. They mentioned Wiley's Comedy Joint. Love what you guys were doing down there. Wiley's name was everywhere. They said that's why they sat down and actually did spend time with me.
That's good.
I tried to do the best I could, and I actually, I want people to know that if you're trying to get a job in comedy, make sure that you're being taken seriously and that you're taking their information seriously. And so what I did was that I actually there was another comic on the boat. His name was Rio. If you're out there, Rio Jeanette, hello. And I tried to tell him that, and I said at breakfast that morning, I said I'm going to go talk to the comics and at the nighttime, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a notebook and I'm going to get 15 questions down. So that's what I did. I got 15 questions down. And I said, everything from what's it like to do you like doing it? Did you do it again? Do you do clubs? What do the 15 questions I asked, right? And I got all of them answered. They were very nice. They were very cordial.
I'm just for a second. I'm watching your levels over here. If you talk right into the front of the mic rather than off to the side,
that
would be okay.
Is that better? Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate
that way we can level you out and it's not going up and down and all over the place.
Oh, hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Carry on.
No problem. So anyway,
you also see you better that way too on the camera.
I just saw Don winking.
You got a phone call. You want me to answer it?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
This could be Kent Rader, who's supposed to call in today. Hey, this is the Life Radio Show. You're on the air. Is this Kent?
Hey, Don, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to talk to you.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, Kent Rader is on the phone. He's going to be headlining at Wiley's this weekend along with Ray Hensley out of Indianapolis. We're excited to have them in.
Nice.
It's going to be a clean show, which is different.
Different from the most offensive show.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back at Wiley's. I think it's been 5 or 6 years since I was there, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, it was good to have you in there for a fundraiser we did a while back.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed your set and enjoyed your material and enjoyed the clean aspect. So that's
thank you.
So how long have you been performing comedy? I know you've been out there for a bit.
21 years now. This is my 21st year.
Wow,
awesome.
Yeah, and I've done. I predominantly do theaters now. I do a clean stand-up show with Jan McGinnis called the Baby Boomer Comedy Show, but still like to do 6-7 weeks a year in clubs, and Wiley's one of my favorites of all time. So I'm excited to come back.
I'm glad to hear that.
Sir, this is Neil Griffin talking. I was a tall, skinny black man. I met you at Wiley's. I met you.
He's the only one.
Right. I'm the only one in the world. No, I met you at Wiley's, and I was just really impressed by the way you handled yourself on stage and your presence and the way you commanded the audience. I just thought it was amazing. And your Kate, yeah, it was just a beautiful thing to watch. And it's just your jokes, the way they rolled off your tongue. It's just beautiful to watch. Yeah, no problem, sir. Beautiful to watch. I can't wait to catch one of your theater shows. It's gonna be great. And if you're around Wiley's, do yourself a favor, man. This guy's a treat, man. He really is, and he really is one of the best in the business, man. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you. I really am looking forward to it. Like I said, I love the place.
So, looking back 21 years ago, what made you decide to get started in comedy?
Well, actually, I was a CPA for 17 years, and I started doing speaking. I was asked to do these speaking engagements on double entry accounting and how it flowed into a financial statement, and the material was just so dry that I started telling stories, and I just wanted to get funnier. I wrote a book on stress called Let It Go, Just Let It Go 20 years ago now, I guess, and wanted to get funnier. And so I just started doing open mic nights, and I thought that's as far as I'd ever go, is just doing open mic nights to figure it out. But as you guys know, it takes you 10 years before you really figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I still haven't.
Well, by that time you're headlining, and then within a couple of years we started doing theater shows around the country. We do probably 30 or 40 of those a year.
Nice.
And so it just, by that time it was too late to turn back, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was just, it's a long process to learn and to find your voice, as you guys know. And then once you found your voice, you still have things you want to work on and want to say. And so it's an interesting process. I just did my first Fringe festival.
In
Edinburgh? Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm going to Edinburgh next year, actually.
Oh,
I've been accepted, yeah. But we did our first one here did it in Kansas City, and went really, really well. But it's more of a one-man show. About half of it's stand-up and half of it is more theatrical, and so it's an interesting process with that as well. So I'm excited about that aspect as well.
Yeah, I didn't know there were other. I was familiar with the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I didn't know there were others.
There are, and matter of fact, we're going to next week. We're doing a couple of shows up in Canada at a Fringe festival just to preview it, and after this weekend, and then after that we will do some more probably early next year, and then go to Edinburgh in next August. So,
awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
Mr. Rader, when you say more theatrical, like what do you mean by that?
Well, actually, I sit behind the desk like an actor for the first 25 minutes, and I talk about my accounting career. And it's a different, all the material. It's an interesting aspect, and in fact, I took a year to write the material. It's an hour-long show. It took me about a year to write the material, and I did it all in stand-up settings like comedy clubs and theaters. Mm-hmm. And then you sit behind a desk and you don't get as big a laughs. I mean, because you're not right on top of the audience like you are in a comedy situation.
Yeah, like a different energy.
Different energy, yeah. And so you really have to keep your energy up. And it was just a different. My daughter's a Shakespearean actor. She actually performs at Cincinnati Shakespeare Company.
Oh, okay.
And so she kept warning me, and I thought, how much different can it be?
Right.
But it was a completely different aspect, and so it really took me some time to get comfortable with that, I guess. Comfortable with that aspect of it.
Yeah. Right. I actually started in theater like almost 20 years ago before I ever thought about doing stand-up.
Really?
So yeah, it is such a different animal to go from one to the other, and it's they're both a lot of fun, but it is definitely a different energy.
Well, it would scare me to death to be on stage with somebody else because I would be afraid I'd let them down.
Yeah.
And so doing a one person show, it was great for me, but it was a different, the first 4 or 5 shows, it took me a minute to get used to it.
Did you feel more free though? I mean, as far as like, cause now that you experience both, like, I grew up in the theater too. And, I feel sometimes like, and with a theater show, you can be a little bit more freer, especially with lighting and sound, because
and that was what was really interesting. Was I had a tech person come in and we did some lighting, and it was just so cool because you can convey emotion with a lighting that you can't always convey with just your voice and a microphone, and so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I'm still, after 25 minutes, I'm ready. The last 35 minutes is just pure stand-up, and I'm behind a microphone like I will be at Wiley's.
Your natural state.
Right, and I just can't. That last 5 minutes, I can't wait to get up and get behind that microphone.
Really? Yeah. Well, that's what you know. Yeah, that's what you know, so.
Yeah, but it's interesting. But I wished I'd had more of a theater background behind me, or at least had done something else theatrical, but I never had the guts to do it like you guys have. So,
but it seems to be working for you though.
Yeah, that
right.
The stand-up aspect's fine, but the other, it's you keep growing, I guess, as a performer. Yeah. But
do you think though, like now that you're kind of maturing as a performer, like you're kind of, I feel like you're kind of molting into this other performer, because like you said you did the stand-up, and now you're kind of bouncing around into the theatrical gist of things.
Well, actually, it's an interesting you should bring that up. My wife actually said she thinks I'm returning back to my roots, to actually telling more of a story that's important to me versus just being funny.
Right.
I took 20 years to get funny, and now I'm morphing back into I'm going to tell a story that's important to me, and
well, you know how to make that story funny now,
right?
Yes, right. But also there are in the theater show there are 2 or 3 points that are somewhat touching to me, and they're important points for me to make, but they're. I notice that even my wife will cry sometimes when I tell the stories, but it's like I've morphed back into I want to tell those stories as well. But they're funny, but still they have a point.
Right, and I think that's the beauty of it, though, right? It's like the art of telling your story. Now it's like I was telling a friend of mine today. He's taping he's trying to put together a package for, to shop around for different clubs and things like of that nature. And and he asked me, what can you tell me about different things? And I was just like, for me, it's like it's like a circle, right? It's like you go from host, host to feature to headliner, and then hopefully you're a host again. Basically, so basically what you're doing, you're basically it's just a friendship circle, right? You're taking strangers, which is the open mic, right? Turn them into friends, right? That you're hosting. Then all of a sudden, you're better friends when you're featuring. Then all of a sudden, your best friends come out to your shows, right? When you're headlining, they come out to your shows, they buy your merch, all that good stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, you go back to the circle again and you're hosting again. Now, you might be hosting on a bigger level. You might be hosting, Kids Say the Darndest Things or Family Feud. But at the end of the day, you're trying to get back to hosting again. You're basically practicing that the whole time.
Well, and those hosting skills, really, once you've gotten those, they are so important in every level you go to.
Yes, sir.
Because you know how to work with an audience, you know how to work when it's not going well. And I remember one of the first times I hosted, I worked with a guy named Tommy Blaze, who's an old-time comic.
I know that.
And I went up on Sunday night and died, and the feature died, and Tommy went up there and just talked to the audience. And he did 45 minutes of just killer stuff.
Well,
and I remember talking to him, and he said, those are all skills I learned as a host.
Yeah.
To be able to talk to the audience and to figure out what they want. And I agree with you. It is a big circle going around, but those hosting skills are so important to you as you get older with it.
Yeah, that's why I started hosting a radio show. I just started off there 5 years ago. I just skipped a few steps. But even with that, I mean, doing this, it's getting close to 5 years now that I've been doing this, and even with that, I definitely, if I listen to some of my older stuff, I can tell a huge difference. I mean, it's a growing skill. It's very important to comedy and to just about everything. It doesn't go away. Yeah,
it's exactly. And that's a good skill set. It's like even like I was just on a cruise, Mr. Raider, and I met a lot of different people, and I talked about the Don Smith, the life radio show with Mr. Don Smith, and they were like, oh really? I'm like yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like I was kind of doing my little circle, like I was a stranger, and all of a sudden I'm eating cookies with somebody, and all of a sudden they know the show, and hopefully they're listening now. So it's all about the circle, sir.
Yeah,
right. It is. It's an interesting business, and I think you never stop growing. No matter what level you get to, you never stop growing. I was taught Chris Rock. I've known Chris Rock forever, and I do a couple of weeks a year in New York just to work mostly on new material. And he had told me years ago. He said, I work on stuff when I first bring it out. I do it clean because it truly, I can't really tell if it's funny unless I do it clean. And then he said I dirty it up later. But he and I were talking, and he said, I don't know how long he's done it, probably 35 years now. And he said, I still walk away some nights and think, well, that was something new, that I had to learn. And so, you never stop learning, no matter what level you get to.
Yeah, I like the idea of writing clean first, because it's so much easier to make a clean joke dirtier than it is to clean up a dirty one.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly. And, I had a couple of bits I wrote down, and I have nothing against profanity. I just don't think it's used as a punchline. So
Right.
I wrote some filthy stuff a few years ago, and Twyla, my wife, said, I said it's going to die in the back of a notebook somewhere. I'll never use it and she said, send it to Lewis Black. So I did, and he doesn't write that way. He goes up on stage with an idea and then kind of writes it out on stage. And he called me and he said, that's not really how I do it. And I said, if you want it, you can have it. If not, and he said, how much I owe you? And I said, you don't owe me a thing. It'll never see the light of day
right.
with me.
Right.
And he sent me a video a couple of years later, and it was perfect. It was Lewis Black, but it was my idea, but it was Lewis's Black's writing. So it was beautiful
to
cool. see.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was just on a cruise ship, like I just said, and I actually had it. I sat down with some comics, Rick Corso and Mr. Nestor, and they've been working Royal Caribbean for like 6 years, and they were just telling me, like, they were like, yeah, it's like if you want to do a cruise ship, you got to do an hour and a half clean, straight up.
Right.
Yeah. You'll get booked a lot more if you're clean.
Yep.
Right.
When I first started, I was clean, and then I found the joy of cutting loose. But I still every now and then can pull some of the clean stuff out. Like, this past weekend I was asked, Brian Swinehart was in town. He asked me to do a feature spot for him, and had to be. He said clean-ish. So, so I struggled to pull some of my not as clean stuff and clean it up a little, but I managed. But yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, it'd been a while since I've done 15 to 20 at all, let alone clean. So it was still fun though. Had a great time.
Right.
But yeah,
that's cool. Hey, Mr. Ray, I have another question to ask you.
Yeah.
What? Okay. So when you're doing like your hour set and you're doing your theatrical stuff, like, do you? Do you feel more free when you are doing the theatrical stuff, or is that stand up just so ingrained in you to where it's just like you just rather do that, just do the time and get the heck out of there?
Well, I am a little too anal in the fact that everything I do has been well planned out.
Mm-hmm.
I wished I had that. Greg Warren, who you guys probably know from St. Louis. He and I've been we were talking, and he also writes on stage, and he keeps saying, go up there with an idea and don't worry about it. Well, I just can't do it, man. I write everything out. I mean, even to the fact that I have words and sentences that I deliver the way they were written. And it's just, I wished I were a little more free. I'm just not. I'm very restricted. Now, the last show I did here in Kansas, the Kansas City Fringe Festival, a friend of mine came, and she just absolutely loves this story about a kid at the grocery store. And so what I did is I threw it in, pulled some stuff out, because I can pull time out in my head. I know this bit takes 3 minutes and this bit takes 4. And so I pulled those out and put this 4-minute bit in. And when I got done, the lighting people were like, "Oh my God, we had no idea what you were doing. You'd gone completely off the script there for 4 minutes."
That's fun.
But yeah, it was. I can do that, but I'm just not. I wished I were more. I wished I were a little more free. I'm just not. I'm very, very anal about it.
I'm about the same way, because usually if I'm going to do a new set, if I'm going to do a new 5 minutes or something at a mic or at a, I will write everything out word for word a week before. That way I can commit it to memory, because I don't like going up with notes.
Right.
But there have been, in the past couple months, there have been 2 times I actually went on stage with notes that I had jotted down like up to 5-10 minutes before I went on stage, just with things I wanted to talk about. And they've been really good sets. And it was one of those where I didn't really have things written out. I had an idea. So trying it that way, I mean, I was nervous as could be, but it was also very freeing in a way to just kind of cut loose on what I had been thinking about.
Right.
But
you're much braver than I am, Don.
Usually I'm the same way you are, where I have to have everything written down and committed to memory.
Yeah.
Right.
The reason I ask you that, sir, I didn't mean to cut you off, Don.
Oh, you're good.
But the reason I ask you that is because I feel like you would be really good, like, taking cues. And so when I think about theatrical performances, in my own experience, which is not as long as yours, but I do the cues. So, like for example, for me to have a sound cue or a lighting cue,
right.
That can be either freeing or restrictive, and that's why I asked you the question. Is that because sometimes it depends, like you being diligent about things. I thought maybe you would like the fact that you know maybe in your the math in your head is counting down those cues, or maybe it's the timing of that. I that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, I had 4 or 5 cues. There weren't that many, and they were based on what I was saying, and so they were, and I knew where I had to lead, even if I strayed from my original script. But
okay.
I really, I would love to be able to do what Don does. I just never have found the courage to do it.
It took a lot. I think
I admire you guys. I admire you guys that can do that, because
I've had a lot of things in my personal life recently that kind of made me want to go up and just cut loose, and that's
right.
really what that was about.
Right.
Because I'm still the same way. I have to have things planned out.
Right. Well, I can't think of the woman's name. She's become really big, but she went up. She had gotten like a diagnosis of cancer, and her mother had passed away. I mean, all within like a week, and she just went up and riffed on it, and it was just wonderful. 10 minutes. It was in New York, I remember, but I thought, gosh, I wished I had the courage to do that. I just don't. I'm a coward at heart.
Well, I'm going to have to hit our comedy rundown real quick, and then we're going to take a little break for about 5 minutes or so. Are you going to stick around and cover some news stories with us?
That'd be great. I'd love to. Thank you.
All right, cool. Here's this week's comedy rundown, brought to you by the legendary Wiley's Comedy Club at 101 Pine Street in Dayton's historic Oregon District. Call 224-JOKE or go to wileyscomedy.com for all the best in Dayton comedy. Tuesday, August 20th, tonight, open mic at Peach's Grill at 104 Xenia Avenue in Yellow Springs. That show starts at 8 o'clock. Also, CK Comedy presents open mic at Station 1 at 325 Fountain Boulevard. That show starts at 8:30 p.m. Also, I believe Toxic Brew Company has an open mic. I can't believe, or not an open mic, but has a book show with Dan Seabury. I forgot to write down, but I believe that one starts at 8:30 as well at Toxic Brew. Wednesday, August 21st, open mic at Mila's Suburban Cafe at 606 Taywood Road in Englewood. That show starts at 7 p.m. Also on Wednesday, an open mic at South Park Tavern at 1301 Wayne Avenue. That show starts at 9 p.m. And the Vibe Sessions open mic at Hannah's at 121 North Ludlow Street in Dayton. That show starts at 9 p.m. Thursday, August 22nd, open mic at the Spirited Goat at 118 Dayton Street in Yellow Springs. That show starts at 7 p.m. There's also an open mic at the Barrel House at 417 East 3rd Street from 8:30 to 11, and an open mic at the Hookah Bazaar at 958 Patterson Road. That show starts at 10 p.m. Sign-ups if you want stage timer at 9:30. And also on Thursday, Rolling Mill Comedy Night at Rolling Mill Brewing Company in Middletown. That's a free admission show. Lori Graves is headlining. It's hosted by our good friend Kevin Rupert.
Yeah, Rup.
Friday, August 23rd, comedy show at JW's Wine Cellar at 724 East Main Street in Trotwood. That show starts at 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, August 23rd and 24th, Kent Rader and Ray Hensley are at Wiley's Comedy Club at 101 Pine Street in the Oregon District. And Friday through Sunday, August 23rd through the 25th, Shang is at the Dayton Funny Bone at 88 Plum Street at the Green. That is it. As always, check out wileyscomedy.com and DaytonFunnyBone.com for details and tickets to upcoming shows. And also, don't forget about the open mic on Mondays at 7 p.m. at the Barrel at 857 West Central in Springboro. We're going to go ahead and take a break. This first break, the song is going to be another St. Mary, St. Michael, because I'm pushing him. Don't forget they have a August 31st at 7 p.m. Can't remember exactly where. He has an album release party for his new album, Another Anodyne.
Nice.
And this is going to be the song When Atlas Shrugged. Go ahead and hit it, Patrick.
Just a dream. It only took a moment to come flooding back to me. saw I was surrounded by disbelieving eyes. How could I be here on the other side? God, I'm so sorry. Then my eyes found you, a smile on your face. You wrapped me in your arms, you told me it's okay. On the day that you met me, you know what I would do? How could you still love me after what I'd done to you? God, I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. Tell me I'm forgiven. I wanna believe it's true. And maybe given time, I could forgive myself too.
Hey, this is Don Smith from the Life Radio Show. Do you like telling jokes? Are you the class clown? Do your friends always tell you you're funny? You want to prove them wrong? Well, nearly every Sunday, Wiley's Comedy Club at 101 Pine Street in Dayton's Oregon District brings you Wiley's Sunday Comics. You can be the one on stage making people laugh. Or not. All you have to do is send an email to wileysundaycomics@gmail.com and follow the instructions in the reply email, and you can tell jokes at Ohio's oldest comedy club.
You fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is this: never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
All right. I just barely got that piece of pizza down before we got back on. I was about to start choking on it. Hey, welcome back to the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith. Sitting in the studio with me, my guest co-host for the week, Neil Griffin.
Yay!
Also, the very subdued and quiet Brandon Berry is sitting over there, I promise.
How you doing?
You got a message from a fan.
Oh, I have
cool.
a fan. That's weird.
About your show. It's,
fan or complaint?
Yeah.
No, it's a praise.
Oh, okay.
Who is it?
It's from somebody named Mark.
Ooh.
They said, your show is one of the most interesting and entertaining shows I've listened in years. I haven't been to Wiley's Comedy Club in years, but we'll plan to visit soon. I'm glad I stumbled onto your show. Hashtag Dayton Strong.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Kent Rader is also joining us on the phone. Yeah, just got to make sure you're still on there. Patrick didn't have the volume turned up, so we could hear you, but we couldn't broadcast you anywhere.
All right, you're on now.
Okay, good.
So what we do with the last probably 20 minutes of the hour is I have some news stories that we need to talk about. It's very important stuff. We cover only the most important news here on the Life Radio Show.
More accurate than Fox.
Oh, absolutely. This is not fake news. Most of it sounds that way, especially this first story, but it's a Florida story, so you never know where they're going to go.
Right.
Officials say a Florida woman who pulled a small alligator from her yoga pants during a traffic stop.
Great start.
I know, it's Florida. And illegally possessed numerous other wild animals, has been sentenced to probation after pleading guilty to 4 charges. Florida prosecutors say a Charlotte County Sheriff's deputy stopped a pickup truck in May after it ran a stop sign. The driver, 22-year-old Michael Clemens, told the deputy he and his 25-year-old passenger, Ariel Macanlakir, wow, I got through that one somehow.
Nice.
Pretty good name.
We're collecting frogs and snakes under an overpass. He gave the deputy permission to search the bags in the truck when the deputy found 41 three-striped turtles in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle backpack.
Nice.
Of course. He asked if Macanlakir had anything else. She pulled the 1-foot alligator from her pants.
Nice. Nice.
That's her weapon of choice.
Yeah.
He couldn't have seen the alligator in her yoga pants?
Right. I don't think that's yoga pants. There's something showing up in there.
Yeah.
If you got a wiggling 1-foot alligator in your yoga pants.
Right. Like
that's not an alligator. That's something else in my pants.
That's a crotch lizard, I think.
Right. Leave it to a well-to-do Caucasian lady to invent another party. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a theme protein party?
Well, they have goat yoga. Right. This is gator yoga now. Is what they're starting.
Yeah,
I like
yoga.
gator yoga. That is funny.
I think you're onto something, Don. The gator yoga.
Exclusively in Florida.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things exclusive to Florida. And a lot of it just in this story.
Right.
And I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah,
I do too.
That's
weren't they radioactive? Isn't that how they became?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much in that story to unpack. I think not just a 1-foot gator in your yoga pants. There's more to unpack than that.
Right. There's mutant
41 turtles in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle backpack.
Oh my god,
that's got to be going for a Guinness record at that point.
It's got to be.
I would think.
That and the sticking a gator in your yoga pants.
Well, I'm sure it's Florida. That's probably not the first time.
Right. She probably had a leash on it. It probably had a leash on it somewhere, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, you got to be able to extract it quickly in case the cops show up.
Right. Probably has rhinestones on it. Probably at least rhinestones.
Yeah,
nice.
It reminds me of a story. Years ago, I read a story on the air about there was a guy that was going through a Wendy's drive-thru and ordered like a Diet Pepsi, and that's all he got. And instead of paying for it, when he grabbed his drink and he threw a 3-foot alligator through the window and took off.
I heard about that.
So that's
was
apparently
that also in Florida?
What's that?
Was that also in Florida?
That was all, of course. That
Of course
was
it was
also
in Florida. Of course it was there, Mr. Raider.
Where alligators are apparently legal tender. So.
Right. Right.
Legal and tender.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
and quite delicious. I have tried gator before.
It's good.
It wasn't out of somebody's yoga pants. I don't think I'd eat that one.
Well, you got to fry it right. Yeah, you got to fry it right.
Right.
It's chewy if you don't.
An airport security worker in New York has been fired for handing a passenger a handwritten note that said, "You ugly." Only the important news, Kent.
I guess they didn't get through TSA on that one.
The June incident came to light this week after passenger Neil Strasser, that's another Neil, obtained security video through public records request and posted it to YouTube. The video from Greater Rochester International Airport shows the worker handing Strassner the note after he passes through the metal detector. Strassner says he didn't think much of it and continued toward his gate. That's when the woman yelled out, "You gonna open the note?"
Oh, man.
Strassner says when he did, the woman burst out laughing. He later complained to her superiors.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I am so glad that there's a TSA agent out there with a sense of humor.
Exactly.
With a sense of humor, exactly.
Because I've never seen one.
No.
A TSA agent with a sense of humor is kind of like a 1-foot alligator in your yoga pants. You don't really think it's there until it happens.
Right. But it's so stressful. It's just a stressful job. You got to keep your P's and Q's about you at all times. Kind of give the chance to know that they do have a human side. They do
even if it's a mean one.
Right. They have an alligator on a leash, just like anybody else in Florida, Don.
Yeah, but even if they're just saying you ugly, it's like, oh well, at least thank you for noticing.
Right.
Usually I'm just used to being searched and nobody really looks at me.
So I guess they didn't do the pat down and find the alligator in their yoga
pants. Right.
Yeah, you don't want to insult somebody that carries a 1-foot alligator in their yoga pants.
Right.
You want to be really careful around them. You don't know what else they're pulling out.
I just, it's funny. I was thinking about the silhouette of that. I'm saying the alligator's paws, like pushing the leggings out.
I wonder if it was like a brown pair of leggings. That way it was like one of those Choco Gators.
Or maybe a camouflage pant.
What is going on there? Why do you have this? Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious, sir.
Or maybe the gator was the pant.
Right.
I love Florida, by the way.
You're blowing my mind, man. You're blowing my mind.
A New York couple's another Florida story. A New York couple's luxurious vacation house in Florida has been taken over by dozens of black vultures that are vomiting and defecating everywhere. The Palm Beach Post reports the Casimano family. You don't want to mess with them. That doesn't sound like a name you want to mess with.
Right.
The Casimano family can't even visit their $702,000 home they purchased earlier this year in the Ibis Golf and Country Club.
Of course not.
Sioban Casimano described the smell as like 1,000 rotting corpses. The vultures have destroyed screen enclosures and have taken over the pool and barbecue. Oh. I hope they can cook. That's
right.
The few times the family has visited, they have had to park their car in the garage, or the birds will peck them with their beaks.
Wow! And this is from the Palm Beach
Ibis Golf and Country Club.
Wonderful. And yes. Palm Beach. Where's Palm Beach?
Palm Beach is South Florida. I actually lived in West Palm.
Right.
So it's right across the Intercoastal Waterway from Palm Beach, the rich area. I lived in downtown West Palm Beach, not the rich area. My apartment was like $380 a month.
I can tell by the beard. Hey,
if you're paying $380 a month in Florida, you aren't living in a great place.
Right. The theme is Florida, by the way, everybody. If you haven't noticed, Florida. That's all I'm going to say. I'm leaving that alone.
Yeah. A neighbor of the Casimanos, Cheryl Katz, tells the Post she's got it even worse because she lives next door to a person who is feeding the vultures and other wildlife. In May, she said vultures tore through her pool enclosure and couldn't figure out how to get out. Oh, wow. That is rough.
Who is feeding a vulture?
That's
right.
Probably the same person with a gator in their yoga pants.
Yeah. Obviously, something's not right.
These all are tied together somehow.
Right. Something isn't right, sir. Something's wrong with Florida, man. Something's wrong. something's going on in Florida, bro. That's all I'm going to say, man. Something's up.
Could be the same person who got called you ugly, and the only friends they have are the vultures.
Right, yeah,
right.
These are all tied together here. Yeah, maybe he was part vulture. That's why she thought he was so ugly. It's like, yeah, he's a vomiting vulture.
Yeah. Well,
I would vomit too if I was near that.
I flew into Florida and I flew out of Florida.
I don't blame you. No telling what's going to happen.
I don't know
there.
what's going on in Florida.
Yeah, I lived there for about a year and a half. I got the hell out too.
It's time to go.
Yep. Oh yeah, well, I used to manage a hotel down there, and we had somebody fall through our lobby ceiling head first, 25 feet onto a marble floor. Got up and ran out and jumped into a police cruiser.
Are you serious?
I got called. I left work about 1:00 that morning, and I got called about 3 by our night auditor and said, "Dude, you need to get back in here." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Somebody fell through our lobby ceiling." I said, "Our lobby ceiling is 25 to 30 feet high. How?" Well, what had happened, he said, that somebody broke into our workout room, got up into the ceiling, and got lost. And decided to start kicking their way out, thinking that they'd only have about a 10 to 15-foot drop. And he said the guy's foot came through, and then his head came through the hole, and he said, "Catch me." And he looked up at him and was like, "F you." And then the guy fell out, landed on his head, jumped up, ran out into the street. Now, our auditor's on the phone with 911 dispatch already. Right. As soon as the guy poked his head through, he picked up the phone and called. Well, what happened is the guy ran out in the street and he tried to stop a fire engine with their lights on.
Oh, wow.
That was followed by a couple of cruisers.
Well,
and one of the cruisers stopped and he jumped in the back and said, "Somebody's after me." So our night auditor's on the phone with dispatch and says, "Sir, I think he just jumped into one of our cars."
Only in Florida, folks.
And he's telling me this story at 3:00 in the morning when I just woke up, and I was like, "Dude, you are lying to me. There is no way." And I get in, and there's a little man-sized hole right up in our lobby ceiling. So
probably security footage showing the guy going out into the police cruiser.
Yeah, it was.
I wondered about Florida. I've been wondering about Florida.
It's a different kind of place.
It is. You know what's funny is that everyone that owns a business there is not from there.
Oh yeah.
Like I had a lobster roll in Florida, right, and I had Boston baked beans at a Boston restaurant in Florida. Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, right. It's like but no one. But and there's a Philly cheesesteak place called Las Posadas, right?
Called what?
Because Las Posadas. Yeah, it's like. Yeah.
So it's a Mexican Philly cheesesteak place. Like or Puerto Rican, maybe. Puerto Rican or
but there's nothing in Florida.
Yeah, something ain't right. Something ain't right about Florida. That's all I got to say.
That's true. Let's switch to Virginia here. Let's see.
a little bit more north.
I don't know. Things are getting weird in Henrico County, Virginia. Not West Virginia, just Virginia. Real weird. It seems many residents have been visited by a strange person wearing a television set on their head who has been leaving vintage TVs on their porches since Sunday.
It's vintage nice. TV man.
Vintage TV man. At least 60 people have been subjected to the bizarre antics, which witnesses say are being done by a guy dressed in a jumpsuit with a TV for a head. It's the weirdest thing. He squats down, puts the TV there, and walks off.
Right.
It's really weird, said resident Adrian Garner. My first reaction was, did we order this? It's not an Amazon box. It was just kind of strange.
I actually got several people messaging me saying, "Was that you?"
I can see that. Because it was you and the paint splats down there.
Me and the paint splats. Well, because of I gutted my VCR thing. Right. Everybody thinks I'm obsessed with older technology.
You just said you still listen to cassettes.
I do. Yeah, okay, you got me.
I mean, to be fair, what's wrong with you if you don't have Van Halen on a cassette tape?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't be African American.
One more line. Jim Brooksbank, who found an old tube-style 13-inch TV on his porch, or on his perch, maybe, finds the prank sort of funny, but he can't figure out the purpose. I don't think there is a purpose.
Right.
Wait, so did it only happen on one porch? Or?
No, there's 60 people. 60 people.
60 porches, sir. 60. Hold on. Where do you get 60 vintage televisions, first of all?
Yeah.
Goodwill.
But,
they got them.
Yeah.
All different sizes.
Yeah, I mean, that's really nice.
I imagine you want to carry the smaller ones around if you're going to make that many deliveries.
Right. He reminds me of the old man that gives people Hershey bars in his community. You know what I mean? Like he's that guy, but just on a different level.
Yeah,
you know
he's just going around with vintage TVs. Hey,
right.
You need to watch TV the way it was meant to be seen. Here,
here's a part of my heart.
Now, did these come with a converter box, or do they work?
No, it's giving everybody me TV. Yeah. It's giving everybody bounce. That's fantastic.
Oh man, wildlife officials in Florida
again
said a kinkajou, a South American animal similar to a raccoon, broke into a home and attacked a man. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission said the Lake Worth Beach, that's right by West Palm Beach, by the way. The Lake Worth Beach man told investigators he had given the unusual animal a piece of watermelon outside his home, and it returned the next morning and entered his house. The man said the kinkajou bit and scratched him before he was able to lock it in the bathroom. The man was not seriously injured.
That's why they call it a kinkajou.
Yeah.
Biting and scratching.
Yeah.
That's kinky. Yeah, well, don't give them watermelon. That's really, I think that's the lesson there. Don't feed a kinkajou watermelon.
Right, yeah. You shouldn't feed them anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Feed the vultures instead. That's got to be the same guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, at least you know you're not dead if you're feeding the vultures. At least you're feeding the vultures.
Yeah. Well, they'll still peck you.
Right, yeah, they'll still get you, but it's not as bad as,
Right, not as bad as a bite of a kinkajou.
Right. You don't want me kinkajou dinner. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a scratch of a kinkajou festers. It can be poison. I don't know anything about them.
Me neither. I have no idea. I
might not even be saying it wrong.
Right? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it might not be kinkajou either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we have to probably figure that out. I don't know.
Patrick's got to Google.
Are you doing it right now?
He's going to Google a kinkajou.
A kinkajou? Are you doing it right now?
Yeah.
They're adorable.
Yeah. How'd your son die? Oh, he got eaten by a kinkajou.
Yeah.
But he had clean underwear on.
It's one of them Floridian kinkajous from South America.
Yeah, Florida's weird, man.
It looks like a lemur.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a lemur. They're all from the Brazil area there, and then some in Central America. So now we know the origin, and they made it up to Florida.
All right.
That's okay.
That's beautiful. I'm glad they made it. I'm glad they made it to Florida.
Well, yeah.
Let me tell you,
we should welcome them.
Right, right.
Don't build a wall and keep out the kinkajou.
No. We're not building a wall, Florida. Florida, we will not build a wall. We love you. Right. We love you, Florida.
I don't know. Well, maybe not a wall, like a moat or something. Something to keep Florida from getting into the rest of the country.
Right. But let a couple over. You know what I mean? Like
keep your haters to yourself.
Like when Kent Rader's when he was ready to retire, he can go to West Palm Beach and
maybe that's why the guy's feeding the kinkajou and the vultures. He's he's going to find some way to get over the moat.
Right.
And get out of Florida, and it's gonna be like the flying monkeys on the Wizard of Oz. It'll be vultures carrying kinkajous.
Right.
That's his attack mission.
I can see
the Florida Air Force.
I can see a pilgrimage made.
Nice.
I can see a pilgrimage made for kinkajou. You know what I'm saying? In the Tallahassee border. Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be a beautiful day, sir.
Yeah, they're sending the flying kinkajou.
Don't nobody give me no bad news. Every time about kinkas, I'm talking about kinkajous. Don't nobody give me
kinkajou. I think we got time for one more news story.
Please, Don, end this. Good Lord.
A Welsh town said the new public toilet set to be installed at a local park will feature security measures aimed at discouraging sexual activities. The town of Porthcawl, which is spending more than $200,000 to replace the bathroom facilities at Griffin Park.
Hey.
You're getting new toilets, Neil.
And I got a new park.
Said the new toilets will feature security measures aimed at discouraging vandalism, smoking, and sexual activities. The facilities, which officials said members of the public will have to pay to use, will have features including weight-sensitive floors.
Weight-sensitive floors?
That's kind of body shaming
there. It's a little rough. Don't call us.
Designed to determine whether there is more than one person inside the bathroom. The stalls are also designed to automatically open the doors, shoot water jets, and sound high-pitched alarms if there are any, quote, violent movements inside.
Hey.
You're having a violent movement in the porta potty.
Right.
Gotta keep your kinkajous out of there.
Right. And at Griffin Park, we don't like no violent movements. I'll tell you that much. Not at Griffin Park, we don't.
See, Kent, only the important news.
Right.
Only the important stuff.
Yeah. Kent Raider Park, you can do what you want. Griffin Park, you got to chill out.
Highly educational.
Right. Thank you for joining us, sir. You're amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate you being on the show. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. It's quiet now.
Thank you so much. It's good talking to you, and I'll see you this weekend.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
This weekend at Wiley's, Friday and Saturday, get out and see Kent Raider. Going to be three great shows. One on Friday, 2 on Saturday. Go to wileyscomedy.com. Pick up your tickets now. You'll save money getting them online. They're $10 online as opposed to $15 at the door. So save some money. Go online, get your tickets, and come out and see a really, really good show with Kent and Ray Hensley. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Talk
Thank
to
you.
Soon. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
Have a good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Patrick, we can go ahead and go to break, and we will be back here shortly with the same crew, pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to the Life Radio Show podcast. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, if you want to listen live, we are on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. You can also stream the show live at WWSU1069.org, and we go Facebook Live at the Life Radio Show's Facebook page. If you have suggestions or comments, feel free to email thelife1069@gmail.com.
Presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
Your show is one of the most interesting and entertaining shows I've listened in years.